And it's showtime. All right. Hey, okay, friends, let me ask you a quick question. Simple question. All right. If you were to walk into the bank in the United States and make a deposit, how long would it take? I mean, would it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Now, let me tell you something that shocks a lot of people when they move to Costa Rica. That same simple deposit you'd make in the United States can take 2 hours. And I'm not exaggerating. This is considered normal in Costa Rica. So that brings up a really important question that nobody talks about honestly. Do you even need a Costa Rica bank account if you decide to move here? Because Costa Rican banks, well, they're not like United States banks. Got a lot of different rules, different fees, a lot of different expectations. And today, well, I'm going to break it down to the reality. No sugarcoating, no sales pitch, just real life experience from living here for over 12 years. So, hey, if you're thinking about moving to Costa Rica, retiring here, investing here, this live could save you a lot of money and frustration. So stick with me. Drop your comments in the question box as we go. But first, welcome back to the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. Hey, lots of great stuff today. And if this is your first time here, who the heck is that bald guy? Well, I'm Alan. Okay. Been living in Costa Rica since 2013, traveled all over Costa Rica, lived in over 25 different houses and locations, mostly on purpose, because I'm trying to find the right place, trying to decide, is Costa Rica even right for me? Something you should do as well. Yeah, and when you first get here, don't bring all of your junk and your treasures and everything. Hey, come minimally. Travel around, find out, because Costa Rica is different. The culture is very different. And check it out. See if it's right for you. But today, we're going to be talking about banking, okay? And that's a really important topic. So, hey, put your questions in the chat box. Hey, as always, your engagement, your questions, your comments, hey, makes the life that much better. And it helps me greatly. So, hey, make sure that you hit that like button, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's a great way to support this channel. And hey, as always, I like to welcome you. So, hey, welcome Eduardo, welcome Esquire, welcome to, the other folks that are here. There's 8 people here, but I only see a couple people who are even chatting. All right, I'm dropping a bomb on you. Okay, yeah, I'm. What am I doing? I'm manipulating you. Hey, you gotta chat now. I can see you're online. All right, let's have fun. Okay, so let's talk about, you're thinking about coming to Costa Rica. You've got research. You've checked some of these channels. Some channels will tell you gotta have a bank account. And why are they telling you gotta have a bank account? Because they're making money. Okay. Well, look, before we get into it, okay, and hey, welcome Uncle Chico. And look, a great way to support this channel is exactly what Uncle Chico has done, right? He says, hello everyone, good day from Alberta, Canada. Pretty soon would be the country of Alberta. So anyway, the country of Alberta, you never know what might happen in Canada. Anyway, hey, great way to support this channel, just like him. You can hit that $ in the YouTube chat box and you can donate. Yeah, you can look in the links and donate any other way. But hey, while I would love for you to donate, and I absolutely love the people that do, because every penny does help. It helps cut the overhead, because I don't sell you anything. Don't have anything to sell you. And I hope I never sell you anything, because I just want you to find out the facts about living in Costa Rica, okay? So, hey, just wanted to throw that out there, because I greatly appreciate Uncle Chico. He always supports the channel in a great way. So let's talk about banking, okay? There's actually 4 types of banks in Costa Rica. But before we talk about those 4 types of banks, let me ask you 4 questions so you can decide, do you even need a Costa Rica bank account? Because I'm not trying to make money on you. I'm not trying to get a commission. So let's ask these 4 questions real quick. And if you have questions, put them in the chat box so that I can be sure to answer them. Okay, so real quick. Here's the first question you should ask yourself when deciding, do you need a Costa Rica bank account? Number 1, do you earn money inside Costa Rica? Because the law is pretty simple. You don't have to pay taxes on the money that you make outside of Costa Rica, but if you live in Costa Rica, make money off Costa Rica, sell products and services in Costa Rica, you, my friend, have got to pay taxes, okay? So if you've got to pay taxes because you're earning money within Costa Rica, then you got to pay taxes on that, okay? And you'll have to have a Costa Rica bank account in order to do that, okay? So if you're going to make money in Costa Rica from the locals, yes, you're going to need a bank account. But if not, hey, let's go on to question number 2. Number 2, are you going to run a local business? Are you going to buy property? Okay, that's a yes or no. All right. If you're going to run a local business, let's say you open up your own business. I don't care whether you open up real estate, you're opening up some sort of business in Costa Rica. Maybe you're selling tourist tickets to people, okay? Well, if you're going to run a local business, you're going to need a Costa Rica bank account. But I did say, are you buying property? Well, a lot of people used to think if you're going to buy property, you got to have a Costa Rica bank account. You don't. You can use escrow companies. So let's say, for example, that you're going to buy a piece of property. It's $500,000, okay? You can put $500,000 in that escrow account, and they will hold that money. And once everything is taken care of, you've done all your checks, it's legal, it looks like a great deal, bam, then the escrow account will transfer to the new owner. So that's the best way to do it if you're buying property, okay? Now, you're not buying property, right? You know, you're not buying property. You're going to use an escrow account. You're not running a local business. You don't need a bank account. Let's go to question number 3. Are you a legal resident? Because it's difficult for you to open up a bank account if you're not a legal resident. Some banks, not always. I'm not a legal resident yet. Got my paperwork in the process, been here 12 years. But there are some banks, it's very easy to open up a bank account if you're not a resident. We'll talk about that going on. So if you don't have legal residency, it can be difficult, but not for every bank. All right, question number 4. Can you live in Costa Rica by using your foreign bank account, United States bank account, credit cards, or think about traditional online accounts, okay? If you can, you don't need a bank account, okay? So here's the final question here. I said 4, but let me ask you one more. Are you opening a Costa Rica bank account because some YouTuber said, yes, you really got to have it, okay? Or are you opening up a bank account because you think you need it, all right? Or you think you're supposed to, because it's kind of normal that where you live, you have a bank account, okay? So the biggest reason I have a bank account is because I like the convenience of paying my online bills, okay? In the United States, hey, you know, most places, you know, paying your electricity, your water, all this stuff, your insurance, well, that particular company, you could pay online with them. That's not the way it is in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, if you have a bank account, you can pay your phone bill. You can pay pretty much all your stuff by having a bank account. Now, you don't have to. You can literally go, for example, you can go to a lot of convenience stores, a lot of stores, and say, hey, I want to pay my phone bill. I want to pay the electric. I want to pay the water. You know, it's kind of crazy, but these little stores, I guess they get a little commission for collecting payments. So you don't have to have a bank account to do that. I hate. And because, you know, my Spanish is not that good, it's a challenge when I go over there and say, hey, you know, I want to put 10,000 colones on my phone card or whatever. So it's just easy for me to have an online bank account and do that online. Okay. So that's probably the biggest number one reason why you might want a Costa Rican bank account. Okay. So let's talk about the 4 main types of banks. So now that you know, okay, whether you need a bank account or not, okay, well, let's talk about the 4 types of banks so you can decide which one you want to use. All right. So probably the most popular bank account is the state-owned or government-owned bank accounts, okay? These are the backbone of Costa Rica's financial system, but those 3 main government-owned banks are Banco Nacional of Costa Rica. They're the worst in the world with some of the longest times, Banco Nacional. You got Banco de Costa Rica, BCR, as it's commonly called, BCR, okay? I've had an account. I still have a bank account with Banco Nacional, but I think they've taken all what little bit of money was in there, because if it's not active and you don't use it a whole lot, they'll just close it down and take your money. Okay, Bank of BCR, I had that before, but that was like man, that was like a dinosaur. It was terrible the way you had to log into that account. And then you got Banco Popular, okay? So the government-owned banks are very, very difficult to deal with and long, long wait lines, okay? Now, who are they good for? Well, they're generally good for people who are getting a salary in Costa Rica. So if you actually are a resident, you get a salary in Costa Rica, you probably need one of those. You know, it's good for utility and government payments, but you can use any bank, really. Long-term residents who've been here for a long, long time, see, used to it was only government-owned banks, but they've opened it up to other banks, okay? So people that have been here a long time, they might have one and they'll tell you, yeah, that's what I use. Might not be the best choice, okay? And people who value stability over speed. So if you got all the time in the world, get you one of them. But I don't recommend government-owned banks because they're mostly conservative, very heavyweight, very, very heavy in paperwork. Hey, wait times of 2 hours or more is common. Strong government protection, very compliant focused. They're not customer service focused at all, okay? Now, that's the state-owned banks. Okay, state-owned banks, I highly recommend staying away from them because they're not good for tourists or new expats or anyone expecting a United States-style efficiency. These banks treat time very differently. Number two, privately owned banks. Now, these are privately owned banks, but they operate underneath Costa Rican state law, of course, right? So it's better customer service, shorter lines. The fees are always going to be higher in these type of banks, okay? They're still paperwork heavy, and a lot of times some of these banks are strict with foreigners, and that's because foreigners are looked at as what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, as high risk. High risk. Foreigners are looked at as high risk because they're afraid foreigners are going to do a lot of money laundering, okay? Anyway, I'll leave it there. So privately owned banks, they do have better customer service, shorter lines, but they're good with that for expats that are coming here, people who want better online experience, credit cards, and consumer banking. But here's a reality check on that. They're better than public banks, but they're still nothing like United States banks, okay? So, hey, be writing this down because Eduardo says, hey, he's been here a long time. He says, I hope these dummy gringos are listening and writing this stuff down, okay? This is important information I'm giving you that other YouTubers won't share with you, okay? So, what are some examples of privately owned banks? Well, you got BAC. BAC is BAC, BAC, which is called, is probably the best of the privately owned banks, okay? I want to open up a bank account with them, but I do know that, I got a really good friend, Costa Rican. He has BAC. He loves BAC. And BAC's one of the few banks where, on their app, you can go on their app or their website and you can make an appointment. So look, I have been inside BAC, this humongous long line. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. I'll be here forever. And I actually got out my phone, made an appointment for like 10 minutes from the time I was sitting there. And instead of me waiting a couple hours, bam, they called me up because I had an online appointment. So if you don't like long wait times, I hate long wait times, open up a BAC account, okay? It's a little bit of a challenge because, you got to, in Costa Rica, most banks, you got to show them proof of income and all this kind of stuff. They want to make sure you're not laundering money, okay? Okay, so BAC, BAC, most popular private bank. Banco Davi Inda, Costa Rica, I haven't heard of them, or I'm not familiar with them. And Scotiabank, okay? So those are three very common private banks. They're great for expats with residency, people who want a better online experience, credit cards, consumer banking, okay? They're better than public banks, but they're still not like U.S. banks, all right? But private banks are good. Now, here's my favorite, and here's a third type of bank account, and that's cooperatives, okay? So cooperatives are very similar to cooperatives in the United States, right? They're member-owned financial cooperatives. They're very Costa Rican. They're relationship-based. They're often way friendlier, okay? They're smaller branches, but they do have limited technology, and they tend to be easier for locals than foreigners. But for me, I love them because here's the three types or the three names, right? Our most popular name. You have Copa Alianza, which is probably the most common, Copa Alianza. I see them all over, and I've got a Copa Alianza bank. You got Copa Nay and Copa MEP, okay? And I'm not too familiar with the other two, but Copa Alianza is great. I walked into Costa bank account because opening up a bank account in Costa Rica is like a pain in the butt, right? They want all of this paperwork. They want to take blood, and you got to sign a contract. You got to give them your firstborn. Okay, I'm teasing, but it's difficult to open up a bank account. Go to Copa. At Copa, within 30, 45 minutes, bam, you got a bank account, okay? So, and that is very, very helpful, okay? Because I love using Copa, but here's the caveat. Here's the con is you can't do wire transfers in Copa because it's a cooperative, okay? But there are ways around it. You might not need a wire transfer. If you need a wire transfer because you're buying property, wire transfer into an escrow account and buy that property. So using cooperatives make things a whole lot easier. Okay. And look, the fourth type of bank, which is really not a Costa Rican bank. So really there's only 3 types of Costa Rican banks. But the fourth, hey, think about international offshore type options, non-traditional banks. For example, Wise, PayPal. Don't use PayPal. You got no control over PayPal. They're old. They're dinosaurs. They freeze your account. So Wise, if you haven't heard of Wise, that's WISE. Wise is, oh my gosh, Wise is so simple. So I have a Wise account, use it all the time. And I know that I can transfer money from my Wise account online to my buddy who has a BAC account, okay, private bank, and I can transfer him money, okay? And so it is difficult to connect Wise to some banks. PayPal can only be connected to Banco Nacional, okay? And whenever I try to transfer money out of my PayPal account into Banco Nacional, they gave me a limit of $1,000 every time I transferred, whether I transferred $12 from PayPal into my Banco Nacional or $1,000, it cost me $11. So if I transferred $12, I only got $1 in my account. So those are things that you need to take into consideration. Just don't use PayPal. They're antiquated dinosaurs. Don't use PayPal. Get Wise or some other great bank account. Now look, you look in the description underneath this video, and you'll see a link. You can click on that link to open up a Wise account. I don't make anything by you doing that, but it will save you some transfer fees. So when you decide to transfer money into there, you can save a lot of money by clicking on that link. So now keep in mind that with Wise, the transfer fees are very, very cheap. And so I transfer money all over the world because what I do, I'm an online, I work online. I make a lot of money online, so I can transfer money all over the world, whether I've got employees in the Philippines, all over I can transfer that kind of money. Now, that kind of makes it sound like I'm some kind of wealthy guy. No, I'm not some kind of wealthy, rich gringo. I'm not. But I can work online, make as much money as I want, make as little as I want. I make enough money to enjoy life. So anyway, I didn't want to make it sound like, oh, this dude's got a lot of money. No, I don't. Okay. But I enjoy making money online, and I enjoy being my own boss. Been doing that for over 20 years. Okay. So anyway, got off on a rabbit trail. So really think about using offline. The reality for me is, and let me, before I go there, if you're a vet, dude, I'm a veteran. If you are a vet, if you live with a vet, if you're a family of a vet, open up a Navy Federal account. Dude, if you open up a Navy Federal account, they are the best bankers in the world. They understand, vets moving all over the country, all over the world. And you can open up, I got like 10 different Navy Federal accounts because, I've got different businesses and I like to keep that business in its own bank account. It's so easy to open up a bank account. I used to bank with, several different others, and to open up a new bank account, you had to be there to open up, to sign all this stupid paperwork. Navy Federal, life is so simple. And depending on the type of Navy Federal account you have, you don't have to pay international transaction fees. Dude, that's just amazing, right? So you could just use your debit card to get money out of ATMs, and you can save money. So keep in mind when we're talking about ATMs, for example, I have a Copa account. I never withdraw money from Copa because it costs a lot. Now, it doesn't cost a lot if I'm withdrawing money I deposit into Copa because I'm getting money out of the Copa bank. But if I use my debit card and I go to the Copeland's account to withdraw money, it costs me a lot. And so keep in mind, we're like Banco Nacional. Banco Nacional, you go to their ATM machine. Their ATM machine will say you can get dollars and you can get colones. But when you try to get dollars, it won't let you have it because you got to withdraw the dollars that you already have in that bank. That's stupid. Okay. Well, so what I have to do is I want to withdraw dollars. I go to BCR and I will withdraw the maximum amount of money. And it all changes depending on the exchange rate. But I normally would withdraw $600 and it'll end up costing me $5. Okay. So the best way to withdraw money, while you just want to withdraw cash, you want to withdraw dollars, then withdraw dollars at BCR. But the reality is you don't want to withdraw dollars. Okay. Why? When you're in Costa Rica, don't spend dollars. They take it, but you'll lose money every time. Spend colones. So go to any bank, well, BCR, Banco Nacional, put in your debit card, withdraw that money, okay, but withdraw colones. That is your best bet, okay? And you'll save a lot of money if you'll spend colones. Now, the only time you really want to withdraw dollars, I withdraw dollars whenever I'm going to Panama. Going to Panama, I know I'm going to spend $500 or $600 in groceries. I'll withdraw $500 or $600 in dollars because I could save money spending dollars. There are some reasons why you'd want to withdraw dollars, and there are some businesses only operate in dollars. For example, some attorneys, 95% of their customer base are expats, so they only deal in dollars. Most attorneys in Costa Rica, well, their customer base is Ticos, so they're going to charge you in colones unless they're dishonest. Oh, I'm giving you a golden nugget here. If you go to a local Costa Rican attorney and they don't deal with a lot of expats and they say, oh, this is going to cost you $600, say, no. I want to know how much you charge the locals. What does it cost in colones? And if they go 600 and they take 600 and convert it into colones, they're cheating you because they have a price that they charge locals and it's a whole lot cheaper than the dollar price they've charged you. So it's kind of like, think about this. You go into a grocery store and you buy a buggy full of groceries and they tell you it's $50. No. The price is what it normally is on the cash register monitor, right? Okay, because it's in colones. That's what people use in the country. Okay, now some of the really nice grocery stores, they have a monitor and you can see as they're ringing it up. And some of the nice ones, like for the BMAs. At the BMAs, they actually show you how much the colona price is. And if you want to use dollars, they show you the dollar price. And it's automatically exchanged at the correct exchange rate. And then it's safe. But 95% of the time when you're in Costa Rica, spend colones, not dollars. But there are some things like you're buying a brand new car. It is going to be in dollars and not in colones. Few things. So those are just a couple of examples. Okay. So anyway, the most important thing for you is to be thinking you probably don't need a Costa Rica bank account unless you want the convenience of paying your bills online like I talked about. Here's some important things that you want to consider as well. Costa Rica banks, they're built to protect the system, not to serve the customer. So it's not uncommon. You can go to Banco Nacional and try to open up a bank account and they tell you need these 10 things. You go back the next day and they say, oh, well, you got to have this. Why you didn't tell me yesterday? And you're seeing someone else. I mean, you could talk to 3 different people and they'll give you 3 different things. They're very inconsistent on what you need to open up a bank account. Okay. And it's maddening, but you got to understand they're not customer service oriented. They're there just to protect the system, make sure you're not a money launderer. It's not uncommon. You go in and deposit $3,000 and like, where'd you get this money from? Where'd you make that money? You laundering money? You got to be careful. So understand it is a challenge having a bank account in Costa Rica. Now, so, here you got to get your mindset right. Here's the mindset. Understand long lines, endless paperwork, repeated questions, slow process. Okay. If you understand that and accept that, that's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of headache, a lot of money. Okay. So let's go back to kind of like those 2-hour long lines. And why is that? Okay. Well, it's just not uncommon for long lines, but I hate long lines. Okay. So in the United States, you can normally, I'm gonna deposit my paycheck. I can deposit my paycheck by going to an ATM machine. In less than 5 minutes, I can fill out the deposit slip, go to the ATM machine, deposit that money. Bam, I'm done. Costa Rica, there are very, very few banks where they will allow you to deposit money. Okay. Now, BCR is one that is experimenting with that. Maybe there's some others I don't know about. I'm not saying I know everything, but I'll show you my experience. Okay. But most ticos, there's no way in this world they will deposit money into an ATM machine. They're not trusting that. Okay. And so when you get to the teller, it can take you 15, 20, 25 minutes just to deposit a few bucks, whether it's $100 or $1,000. It can take a long time. It's massive paperwork. And then you got to show your passport. And then the idiot starts looking through your passport to see when's the last time you stamped out. And I want to say, dude, you don't work for immigrations. You work for the bank. Who cares when's the last time I stamped out? Just deposit my money. That's what's going on in my mind. But I'm having to all right, calm down. Calm down. Be patient. It's going to take 2 hours. And the biggest reason it takes 2 hours is, hey, the bank, maybe it opens up at 9. I'm there before 8 o'clock. And before 8 o'clock, there's already a line. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people that beat me. However, one of the things I like about Costa Rica and hate about Costa Rica, it's really a good thing. They respect elder people, sick people, pregnant people. So let's say that I'm number 2 in line. I'm like, yes, I'm here for an hour. The bank's going to open at 9. Guess what? I'll be out of here, and it took me an hour and a half instead of 2 hours or 2.5 hours. That's what I'm thinking. All right, I'm number 2 in line. By the time the bank opens, 10 people that are retired or old, they get to go in front of me because they're retired. 2 pregnant women might get in front of me. And, so by the time the bank opens, there's already 10 or 15 people in front of me. And one of them is probably depositing money for all of their neighbors. So not only are they depositing money for him, but he's depositing money for 3 or 4 or 5 other people. And now I'm like, am I ever going to get up there? So it's very, very different in Costa Rica. So it's different. So anyway, that's the gist on the bank account. So look, that was 30 minutes without me hardly taking a breath. So let me take a breath and let's look at some of these questions and I'll answer your questions. Okay. All right. So this guy says, do not open an account with cooperatives because they don't have any government insurance. Yes. Remember what happens to cooperatives. Okay. So anyway, he's talking about cooperatives. I can agree and not agree with him. Number one, if you open up a bank account in Costa Rica, don't put any more than you have to. He's like, they don't have insurance. Well, I'm not about to deposit $250,000 or $100,000. I'm going to deposit the minimal amount every month so I can take care of paying my bills online. So maybe I'll have $300 or $400 in there. Guess what? If it closes down, no big loss. Okay. So, hey, I do greatly appreciate your comment. And that is, it's a great thinking point. Okay. For those people that might put a lot of money here. You never want to put a lot of money in a Costa Rica bank account. And the reality is there's no reason for you to do that because Costa Rica banks they have to report the money that you have in Costa Rica to the United States anyway. So it's not like you're hiding any money from the United States. Okay. So Eduardo brings up a point that says, hey, if they know you have a bank, they want to know where that money's coming from. Oftentimes they want to, every time I open up a bank account, where you get your money from. And I tell them I work online and my money comes online. And so I deposit that. And, if it's just pension money, you can say, hey, it's my retirement money. Okay. And so anyway, they are going to ask all kind of questions. Now, depending on how much money you have in there, some people say, I can't agree with that completely, but they say that Costa Rica banks do pay a higher interest rate than most United States banks. That's probably true. I'm just not going to put a whole lot of money because Eduardo says, hey, it's best to get a savings account. Every month they pass me about 15,000 colones into my Bank of National account. And he have been for doing it for about 12 years. Okay. We put a lot of colones in savings, has never had to touch it. Okay. So I don't think I would do that. Now, my Wise account pays between 3 to 4% on my balance in my Wise account. And that's way better than my bank accounts in the United States. So I really, while I do have a Navy Federal account, love that. Doesn't pay much on interest, but my Wise account pays a lot. Okay. So anyway, that's just some food for thought. All right. So, hey, Seamus asked a question. It says, can you open up an account without a residency? And absolutely you can. I've already answered that as we were going through that. You know, I'm not a resident and I've opened up 3 different bank accounts. Very difficult to open up a government-owned bank, you know, BCR, Banco Popular, very difficult. But I have opened up a bank account with them. It just takes a long time, okay? Because they want to see 6 months of bank statements. And it's retarded. Why you want to see 6 months of bank statements? Hey, I got $5,000. Just open an account. No, Costa Rica doesn't do that. It's very different. So it's important that you realize that. But yes, you can. Okay, so I hope that answered your question. So I'm scanning through there, and I don't see any other questions, but I hope that this maybe gives you a little bit of a reality check on opening up a bank in Costa Rica. I guess the most important takeaway from this video here is that you 100% do not need a Costa Rica bank account if you live here. You don't. It really is solely for convenience. But if you do decide that, you know what, I'm going to open up a restaurant, I'm going to open up any kind of business in Costa Rica, then you're going to need a Costa Rica bank so that you can pay taxes on it. There are rare things that you can do. Let's say, for example, you know, I used to do relocation retreats. Well, guess what? I didn't have to pay taxes on that. Why? Because I made my money not from the locals. I made my money from the United States. So that's a scenario where, you know what, I don't have to pay taxes on that money because I didn't make money in Costa Rica. I actually made that money from expats coming from the United States. So there are very few rare situations where you can be working, operating some type of business in Costa Rica, but not pay taxes in Costa Rica. That's difficult. Most cases, if you're working in Costa Rica or making any kind of money in Costa Rica, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. You know, for example, you know, I've done a lot of building. I've built a lot of roads in Costa Rica, stuff like that. And so I'm hiring a lot of locals. Okay. Well, expat pays me. Okay. I don't have to pay taxes on that, but I'm paying all these locals. However, if I'm building a road for a Tico or something like that, well, guess what? I'm making money off of a Tico and I'm employing these Ticos. I'm going to pay taxes on those Ticos. Okay. Thomas says, how much is the max you can pull out of an ATM daily? Okay. And a lot of times that depends on where you're at. Esquire says 300,000 colones at Banco Nacional. Okay. So, and what I have found at most banks, it's around 300,000 colones. But like I live in a little bitty town or close to this little bitty town called Buenos Aires. I go there, I barely can pull out 50,000 colones or you know, $100. Okay, and most of the time if there's not any dollars in there, it just tells me there's an error or there's a problem. It doesn't tell me that they don't have the money. So a lot of times it depends on where you're at. I go to San Isidro and I withdraw cash. Then I can withdraw 300,000 worth of cash, which is about $600. Okay. Now I can withdraw that twice. Okay. But after that, I can't withdraw any more. So it really depends on where you're at. You're in a little bitty town, you're probably not going to get any dollars, but you can withdraw a lot of colones. Okay. So I hope and I answered your question there, Thomas. And thanks for your input on that, Esquire. So, you know, there are often long lines at most banks at certain times of the month, whenever, because there's people do draw a pension and get some money from the government. It's not a whole lot. They don't get much. But when that time of the month comes, and I don't know if that's the 1st of the month, 15th of the month, or the 30th, but there's really, really long lines when that happens. Okay. So for the most part, I avoid banks as much as I possibly can. I really hate it. It's like I said earlier, I can't even get into my Bank of National account. And so, and one of the things I hate is that they make you change your password every 90 days. Well, they think that's better security, but in reality, that makes security worse, because if you do that, then you got to write down your password because you can't remember it. And really, all you need is one good password, and you don't have to worry about it. But if your password is like your dog's name, well, then yeah, it's easy for somebody to guess. Okay. So anyway, that's a whole nother tangent right there. But they make you change it every 90 days, which is a serious pain in the butt. Okay. JR says, hey, go to the bank between 11 and 12. By that time, the early birds have left. And I can agree mostly. I wouldn't say between 11 and 12. I would probably say 1 and 2 or 10 and 11. The reason is 11 and 12, there's a lot of people who are taking lunch and they're going to bank at lunch. Okay. So, hey, JR, this is really good input. But I would say go between 1 and 2. Most people are back at work. And like JR says, the early birds, because look, in the United States, I would often say go very early if you want to be first and you don't want to have to wait. Because in the United States, people are lazy. They don't want to wake up till 9 or 10 o'clock, okay? But in Costa Rica, everybody gets up with the chickens, and most of them go to bed with the chicken. So people are early to everything because they're bored out of their mind. They don't have nothing to do anyway, so they walk to town and talk to everybody. So, but that is very, very good input, okay? Thomas says, do you think the new president will be introducing any significant changes affecting gringos financially or visa? Thomas, I really wish I could answer that question. I don't keep up with the politics in Costa Rica. And while I do have some Costa Rican friends, hey, I should probably ask that question, but even they wouldn't know. So, I haven't heard. I don't know who is the main running candidate, but for the most part, I don't think anything's going to change. Most presidents that take office, they know that for the most part, Costa Rica relies on tourism as their number one way to create money. They love expats, and the president that we have right now, they made changes so that instead of every 90 days stamping out, they changed it to 180 days. I don't expect them to ever change that because they want expats, they want tourists to stay longer, because the longer tourists stay here, the more money they spend, which means the more money for the locals, the more money for the country. So in my honest opinion, I don't think any president would ever change anything. So if you want a good password, Eduardo says his password is I hate Spariza soccer team. So use his password. Wait a minute. Spariza soccer team told me they love you, Eduardo. You should wear their t-shirt. Eduardo loves his soccer, which in Costa Rica they call football. Okay. Now Esquire brings out a point, and Esquire might follow politics probably a lot more, but way more than I do, maybe some average Joe. And he says, I bet Laura doesn't change much, as she has been the protege of the current president. So I'm guessing Laura must be possibly running. And will she win? I have no idea. But anyway, that is Esquire's input. Thank you so much for that input. Okay. So, hey, as far as living in Costa Rica, you really don't need a bank account. It's really, really easy just to withdraw money out of the ATM. But here's a caveat. If you're going to be in a place where there's lots and lots and lots of tourists, be careful about withdrawing money out of an ATM machine, okay? Because, hey, on more than one occasion, there have been ATMs, what's the word? Okay, scammers, where they put in this thing and, it's really a camera or something that is reading your card. So, I was in Jaco, okay? And I went to an ATM machine to withdraw some money. and because my rent was $600 and he was just a turd. He was a con man. I had to pay him $600 because he's used to having lots of gringos. Anyway, tried to withdraw money, and I had accidentally put in my credit card. Okay. And of course, you can withdraw, but I'm like, oh, pulled it right out. Don't want to withdraw $600 on a credit card. I put in my debit card. Okay. And withdrawed that $600. Well, within a couple of hours, all of a sudden, I was getting all of these charges on both of those cards, for purchases I hadn't made. And fortunately, I have very good security, and they immediately blocked those two cards, which means immediately I had to get new cards because somebody had gotten my numbers because I put it in an ATM machine where there are lots of tourists, and they were conning people. So you need to be very, very, very careful. Okay. So every time I go to an ATM machine, I put my card in there. And when I put my card in there, I hold my hand over the digit pad because I put my card in there. You got to put in your PIN number. And that way I can put my finger in there, and I can pretend like I'm putting in multiple numbers, but then I'm actually putting in my PIN code, which is Eduardo. I put in Eduardo real fast, and then I withdraw my money. So I always cover the PIN pad so that if they have one of those scammers, that gets your number, they can't see your PIN number. But a lot of times they don't need your PIN number because they just use it to make false charges. So that gives you a lot of great input. So anyway, that doesn't happen a whole lot in Costa Rica, and usually only where there's lots of tourists. If you're living around the San Isidro, there's hardly any tourists. You normally are not going to have any problem with that. But anytime I use my credit card, my debit card, I'm going to the gas station, going to a store, I always keep that credit card within my vision because it has happened before where if you're not watching your credit card, that Tico go over there, take a picture of your credit card and uses your number to buy something online. So you do need to be very, very careful. And that has happened to me before as well. So, hey, if you're using your credit card, your debit card, keep that credit card, debit card within eyesight so that you can watch it, make sure nothing fishy happens, okay? Thomas brings up a good point. Are ATMs no contact, meaning you can use your chip in Hakko Nu Vita? I don't know, but I would never use that. That makes it too easy for a no contact because now these people that know what they're doing, and I've seen more problems with the no contact ATM machine than one that you actually stick in. Because with the no contact machine, even though it's no contact, it's easier for them to get that information off of your chip. And that's why, for me, I have I'm trying to think of the name of the wallet. Let me grab it real quick. I keep all of my, I'm trying to think of the name of it. But anyway, it's, I have this deal right here that I keep my credit cards in, okay? And so if somebody has one of these deals that it's a no contact and it reads your chip and grabs all your information, they can't do it with this. So my stuff is always very well protected. And so my credit cards, information, all that stuff is sitting inside there, keeps it really safe. So, hey, I would highly suggest you getting something like this so that you can protect your credit cards, your debit cards from people who have that technology to get that information. So I hope that helped you out there, Thomas. And even, talking about big lines, because Eduardo says, hey, San Jose Banco Nacional, super long line, and there are 3 big lines all over the bank. Even the ATM machine can have tons and tons of lines. There's long lines going into the bank, but even the ATM has a long line. Like I go to the Banco Nacional in San Isidro, and I've seen the line go around the corner, okay? It usually goes kind of fast because they might have 3 or 4 ATM machines out there, but still long lines. Eduardo says he never uses his Costa Rica bank card in restaurants and pulperias. I'm not sure why he wouldn't do that because, well, a lot of restaurants, small sodas, I would say, and pulperias, they normally, a lot of them don't even take credit cards. There's pulperias, sodas, they're usually mom and pops. And, you know, for them to take credit cards, it's costs them a lot of money. Okay. And so if I were you, hey, just have a lot of cloners with you, have cash with you. And good question, Thomas. He says, is it just the working pace that causes these long lines? Absolutely. You know, in the banks, they're never in a hurry. There's tons of paperwork. You know, you go into the United States, deposit money, 10 minutes, you're out. In Costa Rica, it's a long line. And not only is it long line, but then they know you. How's your mama? How's your brother? Hey, yeah. Well, guess what? Oh, my family's doing well too. Thank you so much for asking. They're sharing their stinking social media life story at the bank. It's like, shut up. I'm here to deposit money. You can visit on your time off. No, that ain't never going to help you. Costa Rica is very family oriented, very different. Work is the last thing on their mind. Talking to you is the first thing on their mind. So, you know, in Costa Rica, I mean, that's going to the grocery store, anything, everything takes a lot longer because they just want to talk about nothing important, okay? And it drives me absolutely nuts. Costa Rica is not customer service related. You know, I'm standing in line. We're in the middle of a transaction, and an employee comes in, interrupts, asks some stupid question. Hey, how's your mama? And I'm sitting there waiting for them. Just give me my change. Just thinking, give me my change. You know, Thomas was like, my brain would explode. Mine has exploded several times, and I've had surgery multiple times. I probably shouldn't show you. I got scars. It has taken me a long time to adjust to Costa Rica. You just have to understand it is a different culture, but that's why I have this channel. It's not to scare you, it's to prepare you. And if you're prepared, well, then when you come to Costa Rica, you'll understand. You know, Costa Rica is not customer service. It's very, very different. Ticos don't think outside the box. They don't think ahead. They're not chess players. They're checkers players. They think one step. Oh, I'm going to park right here behind Alan's car because I'm only going to be in there for 5 minutes. And he's really in there for 30 minutes because he sees his brother, his mama, his sister-in-law, and he's talking to everybody. And now I'm about to blow up by the time he comes out because I'm like, why'd you park behind my car? Oh, Pura Vida, man. Ah! It's not Pura Vida. So anyway, Pura Vida, man. No, it ain't no Pura Vida, man. So anyway, that's part of living in Costa Rica. So, hey, what other questions might you have? Whether it's about banking, whether it's about life in general in Costa Rica. Hey, ask your questions and I'll be more than glad to answer them. I'm having me a honey tea. You know, I don't know if they have this honey tea in the United States, but dude, Costa Rica, you can go buy a honey tea. It is so, so good. So anyway, all right. So, hey, in case you don't know, it is summertime. Verano, I think is the Spanish word for that. Verano. Hey, baby, am I saying that right? Verano? Verano. Okay. My wife is way better at Spanish than I am. Verano. So Verano is summer. And invierno, if I'm saying that right, invierno is winter. And winter, it rains a lot. So we are in the I guess, middle of summer, which is great. Beautiful, beautiful days. Hardly any rain, which is awesome, depending on whether you like rain or not. Most people do prefer the rain. But, hey, I love it. We're getting us a break, and I'm loving summer. Okay, so Snugglers asked a question, says, is it okay to bring spiders from Costa Rica and have as pets loose around the house? Will spiders be super friendly or bite and flee around? Great question. Get rid of spiders, man. Spider bites in Costa Rica can be harsh. Matter of fact, my wife right now has a spider bite on her shoulder. How long has that spider bite been there, babe?
Almost.
Has it been about 3 months now?
No.
Longer?
Longer. I think it was 6.
6 months? So
Yeah.
she got this little spider bite that's on her shoulder, and it's about 6 months. She's been checking Chat GPT to find out everything she can do. Has been putting some kind of little antibiotic or salve or something in there. It is getting better though. So spider bites in Costa Rica, I don't think any of them are deadly, but man, they can get to be nasty. So be careful. JR says, hey, where do you get this honey tea? Matter of fact, let me see here. I'll grab this honey tea real quick, and I'll tell you. All right. Yeah. Okay, so I just ran to my pantry real quick, and this is the honey tea. Man, this stuff is so good. And I picked this up at Walmart, okay? I think the BMAs have it. This is super good tea, man. That honey tea, I make a good hot tea. Dang, that's good. You can actually taste the honey in it, and, you know, no sugar or anything. No way. Are you sure about that, JR? That tells you how out of touch I am with football. He says it's Super Bowl today. Is that really? Can somebody make a confirmation? Is it Super Bowl? You know, of course, now, I have never been a football fan, and I've never, ever watched a single sporting event on TV, not a single Super Bowl. You might call me anti-American. But when I was a kid, I was like, I can't see any way I can make money watching 3 or 4 hours of football on TV. I ain't watching no football. I didn't watch baseball. I didn't watch nothing. I was always working money. No way. Bruce said, yes, it's Super Bowl. Dang. And look, I would ask, well, who's in the Super Bowl? But I wouldn't know who they are if you told me. I mean, if you told me Batman and Superman was in the Super Bowl, I would know them, but I wouldn't know nothing else. So Eduardo says the spiders are in San Jose. The spiders all over. And you know, really, it's not uncommon to have spiders in your house. And that's just simply because most Costa Rican houses are not sealed. And it's hard to kill spiders. And that's simply because they got 8 legs and they're kind of up off the ground. And so it's hard to kill spiders. So interesting. Wow, I had no idea it was Super Bowl. And he says, yeah, it's Pats versus the Seahawks. I got no clue who the Pats are or the Seahawks. You know, I'm blown away. That is funny. JR says he don't watch much football, but he does watch the halftime show. Milk does the body good. That's the same kind of milk I had last week. All right. You know, Costa Rica has a ton of spiders. Matter of fact, you know, one of the most interesting, because Bruce says hairy spiders around the Caribbean side, which reminds me, you know, tarantulas. Man, we got some big old tarantulas here. And on my property here, man, you can see some awesome tarantulas, you know, and they love to get in rocks. They'll make some great big old holes like that, man. I'm talking about a hole the size of a $50 or a silver dollar. Man, they make these holes and live in the ground. And I used to have a lot in the barn where I lived at for a long time. Had a lot of old wood, and I was moving this old wood out. Man, here comes those tarantulas, you know. So, and I really don't know how poisonous tarantulas are. Eduardo says there are no spiders within 2 feet. And spiders, to me, are kind of like snakes. There's really only one good spider, really only one good snake. And that's a dead snake or a dead spider. That's it. There's one good spider, one good snake. And that's a dead one. Okay. So I usually won't kill the tarantulas. I kind of think they're neat to look at and watch. But hey, if I see a snake, he's goner. You know, anyway, I don't want to take a chance on getting bit. And I don't want my children to get bit. And I know we've got some animal lovers and insect lovers. Hey, sorry, dude. You know, I'm not going to try to, you know, it's like, I'll kill him first and then ask if he's poisonous, okay? I ain't got time to say, hey, you a poisonous snake? Oh my gosh, he's poisonous. No, I can't deal with that. No, don't take any chances, okay? All right. Hey, any other great questions? Hey, I love it. We got 16 people on the show today. Eduardo says, great school today. Love it. Greatly appreciate all of you guys. Hey, we're almost at the top of the hour where I shut it down. So if you've got any last minute questions, maybe you put in a question, but I didn't see it. If I didn't see your question, now's a good time to put it back in there. Hey, if you haven't hit that like button, seriously, dude, it takes 2 seconds. Down there, hit that like button. And after the show's over, put some questions, put some comments in there so that it helps to push out this information to other people. Hey, Esquire has a great point. You know, he says, think how the world would be at if Eve would have killed the snake in the garden. Dude, we'd still be running around naked if Eve would have killed the snake in the garden. Hey, if you folks living in a That's right. Esquire, thanks for putting in that comment. All right. Thomas, he says, local banking really necessary for perpetual visa renewal non-resident? Not at all. You most definitely. You know, I've been a perpetual tourist for over 12 years. And really, I didn't need a bank account. Don't need a bank account. I could do everything with ATM machines. And really, I only use my bank account so I can pay my, you know, I don't even have electricity. Used to, it was nice to have. So I now use my local bank account for one thing, pay my phone bill. And that's retarded, right? So anyway, I really don't need a local bank account. You don't need a local bank account. But a lot of times I open up bank accounts just so that I can share my experience with you on how difficult or what's better and what's not. So you really don't need a bank account. You know, this person agrees with me and says public banks. And you're talking about, I think he's talking about government-owned banks are impossible, especially Banco Nacional. What a mess of a system they have. And I absolutely agree. And hey, Esquire, we were buffering for a while, but you know what? Starlink must be getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better because you know what? Hey, it hasn't been buffering nearly as much as it was. So, all right, folks, we're at the top of the hour. Hey, I don't think there's anything else. Look, I greatly appreciate you. Hey, thanks for being on the show today. Can't wait till next week where we talk more about living in Costa Rica. And I just love your input, love your interaction so that we can learn more from one another. Hey, even when you don't have a question, your comments, you know, for example, you know, like this guy who shares his experience with public banks. I love it when you share your experience and you help other people who are commenting and asking questions. I often see people, you know, answering questions that other people are asking. So I love to get your input. You know, this show is really not about me. The show is really about you. What can I do to help you make life better in Costa Rica? Because the reality is Costa Rica can be absolutely phenomenal when you learn how to CYE, control your environment. Before that, Costa Rica could be a nightmare. And if you listen to the wrong person, you can get conned and lose thousands upon thousands of dollars. So be very careful when actually watching or listening to other YouTubers. I need to do a video real soon and talk about, hey, what are some things you can look for when researching information about Costa Rica? So you can know, you know, who are good people to listen to. All right, folks, that is it. I'll see you next Sunday, same time, same station. And hey, it's the only place not trying to sell you Costa Rica so you can buy more of my products and services. That's the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. See you next week.